and thanks for joining me in this edition of the news on Canal de English. Coming up in this newscast, the Memphis Central Market in the Manu division has been consumed by wildfire. The incident occurred in the early hours of this Tuesday, but the cause of the fire is still unknown. The Manu division has become a center of attraction since the escalation of the Anglophone crisis following the assassination of several officers of the forces of law and order. Plus, traveling from Cambe to Ako in the Donga Mountain division in the Northwest region has been described as a total nightmare. Contractors placed to tar the road have reportedly embezzled the money and are now nowhere to be found. And in less than a fortnight, Christians will celebrate Christmas. But have you ever wondered about the significance of a Christmas tree? We'll tell you more in this newscast. And leaders across the world have attended the One Planet Climate Change Summit in Paris and have resolved to do more to accelerate climate finance. Those were the headlines. Now, wildfire have razed parts of the Memphis Central Market in the Manu division of the Southwest region. The fire reportedly sparked out at about 5 a.m. this Tuesday morning, consuming over a dozen shops. A collective effort of the population and security forces put out the fire after scores of goods had already been brought down to ashes. Memphis town, it would be recalled, has no firefighting unit, and the unfortunate incident is happening at a time when most traders had stocked their shops with goods for Christmas. Reports hold that one of the victims of the fire incident, a woman, is said to have collapsed on the scene after seeing her shop being reduced to ashes. Material damage has been evaluated at millions of francs CFA. Now, the road that links Nkambe to Ako in the Donga Mountain division of the Northwest region has been described as a total nightmare. The senior divisional officer for the division has blamed the bad state of the road on fake contractors, whom he says have embezzled money meant for the construction of the road, thereby impeding the local economic division, or rather development of the division. We have the details with D. Morin.
Traveling from Cambe to Ako in Donga Mountain division in the Northwest region of Cameroon has been described as a nightmare. Out the dry season, the road is still rocky, slippery, and seen as a death trap to all vehicles. Most often, passengers are forced to trek for distances.
Donga and Mantum is one of the most enclave divisions in the region. However, the population through communal labor have helped to disenclave some of the portions.
This stretch had been earmarked for construction, but no caterpillar has ever passed here. The SD of Donga Mountain division, Kitty Simonto, laments.
Unfortunately, the people who won the contract are not on the road. The population are suffering.
The SDO says the bad road is seriously affecting the economy of the area, especially as farm produce get brought.
This is the moment for evacuation of produce from the production basins, but unfortunately, some are getting spoiled in the farms. Some are getting rotten in the home that are a threat to our.
Donga Mountain is one of the most enclaved divisions in the Northwest region of Cameroon, a problem the population had been decrying for decades, with no solutions provided by government.
And now on to this human interest story. A man in his 30s, alongside his pastor of the Baptist Church, has been arrested in Buda and the west region of the country for digging up and setting ablaze the skull of his father, who died 30 years ago. Now, the young man says the skeleton of his father is being used by some mysterious men to thwart his destiny. As you tell us, Indira Ayuk.
15 years after the death and burial of his father, the man whose name we got as Kennedy Cedric has decided to dig up and burn the skull of his late father. The Christian of the Witness Embassy of the Baptist Church in Cameroon was taken into custody by elements of the Mbuda Gendarmerie Brigade as an angry mob prepared to serve him mob justice. Kennedy Cedric, who was absent at the time of his father's demise, says unknown persons are using the decayed remains of his late father to frustrate his efforts through witchcraft.
Quand mon père est mort, je n'étais pas là. J'ai fait 2 ans dehors.
I do not know what killed my father because I was in the East region when he died. Upon my return to Mbuda, I refused to worship the skull of my father according to tradition. Since then, I dream of dead bodies each time I sleep. I later came to the understanding that some members of my family are using my father's decayed body to make my life miserable, so I decided to dig up and burn the skull.
Je vois les morts, les esprits viennent m'attaquer. J'ai dit ok, comme c'est ça qui est un canal que vous avez utilisé pour m'atteindre, je suis allé prendre ça et j'ai brûlé.
Eyewitnesses to the shocking act decided to serve Cedric with mob justice alongside his pastor, who is accused of complicity in the matter.
Je suis un pasteur. J'ai enseigné sur 5 ans.
I am a pastor. Has he ever seen me burn or heard me preach about the burning of skeletons in church? When he came to church with the skeleton of his father's skull, I decided to come and report the matter to the competent authorities. The timely intervention of gendarmerie officers spared them the beating of their lives. However, the accused have been taken into custody pending investigations.
Nous avons trouvé devant l'église déjà.
When we got to the church, we found the skeleton of the skull, which was already completely burnt. We saved the accused from mob justice and brought him here at our post for further investigations.
Parce qu'il était prêt à être lynché et nous l'avons conduit directement à l'unité pour que l'enquête suive son cours.
For now, a total of 4 people, including pastors and Christians, have been taken into custody for digging up and burning the head skeleton of Kennedy Cedric's late father. They will be taken before the law courts to be tried for their act.
Now, over 50 heads of states have attended the One Planet Climate Change Summit that took place in the French capital, Paris, today. Now, including Cameroon's President, Mr. Paul Biya, invited by French President Emmanuel Macron. The leaders have discussed ways of accelerating climate finance in order to promote climate change resilience. Now, climate change has often been dismissed as non-existent by people who fail to believe or who fail to accept that the phenomenon is real, including U.S. President Donald Trump, that has often described the phenomenon as a farce. Now, as leaders deliberated this day in Paris about how to accelerate climate finance, we now tell you in the following report the realities of climate change in Cameroon.
Climate change, a concept so elusive yet so real.
Because climate change is real, because you do understand, if you understand now, let me just take a common example. You do understand that formerly in Cameroon, in the village, when women are working their farms, for example, when they are cultivating, you do understand that they usually tell you it's the 15th of March, but today you do understand that at times, like look at now it's supposed to be, for example, now it's dry season, so but you still find rain, and of course there is a lot of flood everywhere, and you do understand there is also this deforestation rate that is going on, and that is really what is causing climate change here.
In Cameroon today, the high rate of deforestation coupled with other eco-unfriendly human activities is precipitating the dangerous phenomenon of climate change, and it is a call for concern.
Cameroon should be worried because of climate change, because of the negative impact that climate change has on the population. For example, the sea level will rise, and when it rises, you do understand you have flooding. You do understand that there's also a dry season, then there is no rain also. That's how it is contradictory. Then on the other hand, also when there is no rain, you do understand there is lack of food. There's lack of food, and of course there is a lot of this harmattan. You see, then of course there is heat. So we have extreme temperature.
2 years after the landmark moment when the Paris Agreement was adopted at the Conference of Parties COP21, the climate spotlight is once again turned towards the French capital for President Macron's One Planet Summit. Leaders from across the globe, including Cameroon's President Paul Biya, are in Paris to mobilize and direct finance towards low-carbon projects that support and accelerate climate change solutions. Climate finance aims at reducing greenhouse gas emissions and helping industries and societies transition into low-carbon future. According to a 2017 economic report, a total of $6.3 trillion is needed annually until 2030 to meet global climate goals. With the United States pulling out from the Paris Climate Change Agreement, many experts think galvanizing this fund will be challenging but not impossible.
It's not tragic. The world can still function without the United States. Like I said earlier, I think it's opening space for other people to come and champion. I think historically, the combat against climate change has been a combat of the coalition of the willing. Like I said, especially in terms of the economic opportunities that this presents, if we look at clean technologies, China can fill that gap.
Renewable sources of energy have been greatly encouraged as a way of turning towards a greener future. And we now bring you some Christmas news in this newscast. Now, in less than a fortnight, Christians in Cameroon will join their peers across the globe to celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. Now, the day is usually marked by the decoration of a Christmas tree, prayers, and a lot of merry making. Now, the Christmas, or rather the decoration of the Christmas tree, is a tradition that dates as far back as the 17th century. In the following report, our reporter Gladys Ambozibang tells us about the significance of the Christmas tree.
Christmas is a Christian festival commemorated every December 25 to celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. It is traditionally characterized by tinsel-decorated trees, present giving, and merrymaking. As the celebration draws near, markets, supermarkets, and other shops are filled with Christmas trees, bells, and other decorations. The trees are usually an evergreen conifer, such as spruce, pine, or fir, or an artificial tree of similar appearance. According to history, the evergreen tree was an ancient symbol of life in the midst of winter. The earliest trees used in homes were referred to as paradises. They were often hung with round pastry wafer, symbolizing the Eucharist, which developed into the cookie ornaments decorating Christmas trees today. The Christmas tree reminds some people of the coming of Jesus Christ.
The significance of the Christmas tree is like for me, like seeing a Christmas tree, I like see Christ coming, like calling for repentance, like a period of peace, like we talk of love and like loving one another. So we like try to get our mind free and like to welcome Christ in a calm and good environment. So for me, Christmas tree is like Christ. We talk about Christ, we talk of love, talk of giving, and talk of care.
To me, a Christmas tree, first of all, when you talk of Christmas in general, first of all, it prepares us for the coming of Christ. And since Christ was born in a manger, we see a Christmas tree as the significance of where he was born among the three wise men with decorations. So to me, a Christmas tree in a home makes you feel like, okay, Christ is there, you're welcoming the Messiah, and it also calls us to repent, to prepare ourselves to really welcome him. So you change, you love those around you, you show them peace, and then
History again tells us the custom of decorating Christmas trees gained popularity throughout the 17th and 18th century against the protests of some clergymen who complained that the symbol distracted people from the true evergreen tree, which is Jesus Christ. But this did not stop many churches from setting up Christmas trees inside the sanctuary as well as in homes.
Now, persons living with disabilities have often been relegated to the background in most parts of the world, including Cameroon. While in a bid to empower those living with disabilities, a competition dubbed Miss Physically Challenged has ended in Douala. Now, the winner, Chokote Laura, has now vowed to push forth the rights of the disabled persons, especially in the field of access to education. Christelle Katala tells us more.
Chokote Laura was able to combine physical and intellectual beauty, which crowned her Miss Physically Challenged for 2017.
Les personnes handicapées à se battre.
I want to encourage the physically challenged persons to struggle, to know that despite their handicap, they are still beautiful women. They can do better. They can study, but I will focus on education because education is the basis to succeed and to be united. The aim of the event was to put forth the physically challenged women holder of projects that can generate revenue. All the finalists will benefit from a training that will help them implement their project. They will also be assisted financially.
Vous voyez, ici, la femme handicapée est seulement...
Here in Cameroon, the physically challenged women just remain at the level of seamstress or hairdresser. It's too low. I would also like to see my disabled sister in a company. I will really be pleased. There are many physically challenged persons with certificates who are jobless because they are handicapped. They don't permit them to work. The government has to look onto the issue. Physically challenged persons should not only fold their arms because they have talent, competence, and several advantages. Each of them went back with a laptop and a tablet offered by their godmother, Elise Ndemani.
Now, despite several years of hard work put in by actors, producers, and directors, the Cameroon film industry seems not really have taken off. Now, there are even fears that the young industry may vanish if government and other stakeholders do not allocate funds for the industry through grants and loans. Film producer, director, and actor Thierry Nchamang laments on the situation, as you tell us, Ndimori.
The Cameroon film industry is sick from lack of funding, absence of adequate training of its technicians and actors, piracy, and above all, lack of support from the Cameroonian public. It is difficult to see an enterprise supporting or sponsoring a movie in Cameroon. Thierry Nchamang has been in the film industry for so many years. He laments the poor treatment from enterprises, governments, and the public as a whole.
The first problem is a problem of piracy, which is a big problem. When you have piracy, it's difficult to have a good producer. I'm not a good producer. In Francais, I say je jongle, you know. I'm not a good producer. A real producer put the money in the movie, but nowadays he can't put the money in the movie because he asks you that, Thierry, what can I do to get back the money I put in the movie?
Some communication and cultural organizations says government should provide funds for the industry through grants and loans.
The question we have in mind is what is the role of the industries in the promotion of the film industry? You know fully well that the industries in Cameroon and companies fall back when it concerns promoting our film industry. So I think that this is like a bell that they are ringing, that they should wake up from their slumber and try to promote our local products instead of inviting movies from other third world countries to come and fluctuate our airspace.
This roundtable conference attracted students specialized in communications. They were edified on the problems faced by the film industry, the role of different actors, and what government, as well as the private enterprises, need to do to beef up the sector. The conference is part of activities to mark the 2017 Francophone Cinema Trophy, the role of enterprises, which will run to December 16. The awards is aimed at promoting competitivity in the film industry while bringing Cameroon movies closer to the public.
Urban planning and development still remains a huge challenge in our country, Cameroon, given the fact that buildings continue to be erected in a haphazard manner across different cities of the country. Well, it's because of this problem that a 3-day conclave is currently ongoing in the nation's capital, Yaoundé, to train people on how to build clean and organized cities. Participants are also coming from 25 different countries, as we hear in the following report with Beatrice Ngamo.
The second edition of the International Conference on Sustainable Urbanization in Canada, China and Africa, known as ICASU 2, opened this Tuesday in Yaoundé. Participants who are coming from some 25 countries will for 3 days be strategizing on ways to develop our towns and cities.
We have to plan our city to have document of planification. That is why they asked us to create a center to learn how the mayor and our planner have to learn to do it. It's very important.
According to some resource persons, urban development can only be possible if financial resources are properly managed, if electricity is available, and if our towns and cities are highly secured. To many participants, ICASU 2 therefore grants an opportunity to share experiences.
Where we're going to train our architects, our planners, our town planners, so that they can be ready to take up the challenge of the 21st century urbanization. They will be helping to implement the new urban agenda and spelling out the challenges and opportunities that cities represent for Africa. Cities are the places where you can make business. Cities are places of opportunities for developing prosperity and improving living conditions. We are not saying to abandon the rural places, but we have to improve the living condition in cities.
Placed on the theme, the CIMAT Urban Development, Local to Global Actions, the Yaoundé International Urbanization Conference saw the presence of the diplomatic corps and some 10 government ministers. Minister Jean-Claude Boncho was the personal representative of the Prime Minister at the opening. The conference ends on Thursday.
You might have corrected that yourself. That report was instead done for us by Tabby Clarkson, not by Beatrice Ngamo as I announced. Now, to a report that was done for us by Beatrice Ngamo, 1,300 billion francs CFA is the amount, or is rather the annual cost of the universal health coverage in Cameroon on the treatment and services. Now, the annual cost was validated this December the 12th in Yaoundé during a reflection regrouping actors, professionals of the health sector. Beatrice Ngamo.
Health coverage, cleaning, normalizing the healthcare sector in the country. Productivity and services will also be improved upon.
For each treatment, you know exactly what you have to do in each health facilities. We will have the success because we can stop illicit drugs.
Opportunity that will help spread pharmacies all over the national territory.
With the quality of services, we can agree one health facility and we can decide to stop the collaboration with one health facility.
The annual cost of universal health coverage on the basis of basic package on treatment and services to the tune of 1,300 billion CFA francs was validated this December 12 following a reflection grouping health professionals, experts, stakeholders and partners in the presence of Public Health Minister.
Now it's time to place this reflection to the government.
Each treatment has a protocol to follow already, such as consultation cost, medication, service provider, amongst others. From here is the final direction from the head of state for it to go operational.
I will now take you out of the country where Russia has temporarily suspended its diplomatic presence in Yemen, and all its staff have left the country due to the situation in Sana'a, according to official reports. Russian sources. The announcement was made earlier today. The Russian ambassador to Yemen and some diplomatic staff will be working temporarily out of Riyadh in neighboring Saudi Arabia. And we now take this press release where the board chair of the Cameroon National Musical Art Corporation, SONACAM, Mr. Ndongen Samuel, also known as Sam Fan Thomas, wishes to inform all music authors, songwriters, and publishers who duly subscribe for temporary registration as members of SONACAM to kindly get their supporting documents ready for onward submission to SONACAM. They include for music authors copies of published work, a recording contract, and licensing. For music publishers, copies of published works, recording contract, and a valid tax record for publishing home. And well, ladies and gentlemen, that's how we saw it for this edition of the news on Canal de English. As always, thanks for watching. And of course, programs continue on Canal de English. Have a good night. God bless. See you again tomorrow.
Canal 2 International.